Is it possible to improve fuel economy on today's vehicles? In fact, the better question is it possible for you to improve the fuel economy in your vehicles? Now, the internet abounds with gadgets, gizmos, and magic elixirs, all promising improved fuel economy. In fact, they'll back it with lab reports and testing to validate that. But if you keep searching, then you find sites that are debunkers. One site will show how HHO can magically improve combustion and get you better fuel economy and performance. And then you got Mythbusters showing how it's scientifically impossible. It violates natural laws. Nothing but a scam. Boy, it gets confusing rather quickly, doesn't it? What is the truth, after all? Back in '91, I started my fuel economy journey. I was driving 101 miles round trip back and forth to work, driving my '71 Dodge Demon with a totally worn out slant six. I decided that I was going to try all the tricks that I'd learned, and I was going to improve the fuel economy on that Dodge. Started out with a good tune-up. Then I played around with ignition timing. I played around with spark plug gap. I adjusted the carburetor. I added an MSD box. I even went so far as to adjust the valves. And all of that work got me a whopping half mile per gallon. Well, I went to the library because there was no internet back then, and they didn't have a book on how to get 200 miles per gallon on the shelf, so I went to the encyclopedias. And I started learning about combustion, the internal combustion engine, carburation, the Venturi effect, crude oil, just on and on and on. Hundreds of hours between the encyclopedias and then the college textbooks that interpreted what I was reading. And I started learning some very curious secrets, shall we say. And then I started building things and testing. And I started learning what was going to work and what wasn't. I was getting over 60 miles per gallon out of my '71 Duster, which replaced the Demon. And if you want the full story, the last lesson in this course is Meet the Trainer, my story. Bottom line is over the course of 30 plus years, I wound up a fuel economy expert, recognized by the U.S. federal court systems. I have traveled all over the world, China, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Italy, Hong Kong, South Korea, all over the U.S. and Canada as a fuel economy consultant. Now, I took that experience and I condensed and codified it, and I put it into an easy to understand format, the MPGenie training course that you're about to explore. Now, for you to improve fuel economy, the first thing we need to do is get you believing that it's actually possible. So one of the first lessons is just a brief overview of some people in the past who have gotten 50%, double the mileage, over 200 miles per gallon. And then we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes. Combustion characteristics considered. This is where you're going to learn about the magic window. Once you understand the concept of the magic window, everything else begins to make perfect sense. From there, we're going to go and look at the engine itself and then expand from there. We'll look at manifolds, we'll look at induction and exhaust system, we'll look at the fuel delivery system, ignition system, PCV system. We'll learn how to use a scan tool so that we can know what's going on as we're doing our fuel economy improvements as far as the ECU is concerned. We'll look at the importance of emissions, and then we'll look at some tuning concepts. How do you get the modern ECU actually liking the hardware changes that you made to improve combustion? And then to wrap it up, we're going to look at not one, not two, but 3 real-world examples where we're going to apply the lessons and we're going to see what it looks like in the real world. There are no guarantees, but someone that's mechanically inclined, that can do a tune-up, change their own oil, brakes, and so forth, should be able to take the lessons from this class and get real-world 15 to 25% gains on the low end. And someone who's willing to do research after the class and learn even more, the sky's the limit. Back in December of 22, I held this class in front of a small select group of people at a remote resort in the Pocono Mountains. It was quiet, it was peaceful, And the attendees all had prior fuel economy experience. I wanted friendlies where I could present the information, get valuable feedback, which I did. About 75% of the lessons are filmed at that class. I had to go back and redo some, and 25% are done right here in the studio. I am confident that you can take what's in this course and you can get 15 to 25% gains on most of the vehicles that you'll have access to. That means that you can be successful if you have any kind of mechanical skills. So I'm rooting for you. Run it. Good. And finally, go out to the garage and start doing. You will learn more in 2 hours in the garage. I mean, long-term memory where you know it. You'll learn more in 2 hours in the garage than you will have learned 7 hours watching the videos. I mean, real knowledge. So go make me proud.